Good afternoon, this is Mark at the Wicked Edge Expert Corner Group, where we talk about everything sharpening knives with Wicked Edge, fixed position guided angle sharpening systems, whether it be upgrading them or technique or using the tools or mediums. And I got an email because of a YouTube video. So one person must have seen one of my videos talking about whetstones, and he just bought behind me, another story, a new Wicked Edge from sharpening supplies here in the US, and he wanted to buy whetstones for Wicked Edge and he couldn't find them. Which leads to the whole thing. I was sharpening last week a knife talking about hardness. The hardness led to the conversation, do you have to have whetstones to sharpen these hard stainless steels? And I talked about my failure to sharpen a Miyabi Birchwood series knives, more than one that I had. All kinds of things we talk about here. So first I want to say, the Miyabi Birchwood knife is a very fine knife and I wish I had it. What happened was, in my sharpening experience, I didn't sharpen it with the appropriate medium and I didn't get the results I wanted. So I sharpened it further, more, and didn't get the results I wanted. And I sharpened it again, multiple knives. So that those knives, to me, were not the knife that I bought that I thought I could sharpen. So I reached out to Cutlery and More, Heinkel's Willing dealer, and they put me with somebody at Willing that said, this is what you spent, this is what we will replace, and they offered to replace it with something else. And I went with the Kramer's Willing knife. I regret that I couldn't get the same knife, and I did not want to go to the more expensive high carbon Kramer knife. So I took what I took and called my experience with Willing Miyabi Birchwoods an experience. But they're a very fine knife. I have nothing against them, but I'm not going to buy another one because I have too many other knives to enjoy now but I wanted to make that clear. Anybody, if it comes up and when you do a search, that I'm not bad-mouthing the knife. It's a beautiful knife. I bought it because it was advertised at the time as the world's sharpest knife, and it's long and slim, and it sparkled in it. It's a nice knife. I just didn't sharpen it well to the point that I didn't want to keep owning it if I could step into something new. So, because of my experience with this Willing knife, I started using, I'm sorry if I'm screaming I started using whetstones offered for Wicked Edge. At the time, 2016, Genda Industries offered whetstones at Wicked Edge website. And I went to order them. And at the same time, he had his own website. And I saw that Wicked Edge was not going to continue to offer them, so I went and ordered them directly. So the first stones I ever got were from Genda Industries. And it turns out that he is pretty much the only one in the availability for online shopping for stuff for Wicked Edge. If you look here, sharpening, stropping, Wicked Edge stones. He has Chosera stones. Shapton stones, the ones that I sharpened with, the glass stones, those are a thing of the past. This that you saw me use and Michael Fuller use, these are something we came up with for something that you can buy from Sharpening Supply. And it's the same Shapton glass stone. The other alternative is the Shapton Rockstar, and I don't know anybody that's cutting them. Maybe Gritomatic might be cutting them at this time into 1x6s. I didn't say the whetstone industry, I said in the previous, is all whole stones that are manipulated to be plated or for Wicked Edge. Genda Industries is making them for Wicked Edge in limited whetstones right now. He has a good selection of Chosera. He used to have the Shaptons. The Shaptons in the marketplace, you should be able to find them in the 1x6s. They come and they go, the Shapton stones. It has to do with contracts people have to write to get the stones so that they can buy enough to be able to cut them. It's a hard market. The Choseras, they're more available. He has Choseras available that you either build them, like Stonehenge, you build your stones, you decide your coarse side and your fine side, and they come to you mounted and labeled. And they are original Chosera whetstones, splash and go whetstones cut, ready to use for Wicked Edge like I use. My collection I amassed because there was a guy I found on eBay that was cutting stones. Someone on the forum posted that they found whetstones for Wicked Edge on eBay. I said, what? Because I kept track of everything in all social media about Wicked Edge because I'm just so obsessively interested in it. And I just keep track because there's so few people using whetstones for Wicked Edge that everything that I know from this guy that makes them and the people that sold them and what I learned pretty much myself. Because there's not a lot of people talking about using them. And there's not a lot of sources. So when that guy popped up on my radar on eBay, I hooked up with him and commissioned him to cut stones that I ordered for him. Some from Sharpening Supply, some from other sources. And he cut and he made me stones like these Chosera stones that I purchased from Genda. But he cut them for me. Since he's moved on and I can't find him. I think he was a European guy over here, Ukrainian or Georgian, some nice guy. And he made me a bunch of stones. When he made me, these are what are called the Chosera Professional Series. They're the new Choseras. Chosera spelled with a C. These are Chosera spelled with an S. In the U.S. market, when I Google Chosera stones, I go to Sharpening Supply. It shows you Chosera stones with an S. That's the new brand of the old brand. They reformulated the innards, the epoxy, the ceramic. It's maybe a little better splash and go stone. The same beautiful cutting silkiness. Maybe it's a little less muddy. I don't know. Like the difference between a rock star and a Shapton stone. But they're both the same, but they're a little different. Well, that's what this is. That's what these are. These I got someone to cut for me. Commissioned them, bought the stones in the U.S., drop shipped them to him. These are not available. The thickness of these as compared to these has to do with the economics of cutting up the stone, laying it out, and me getting the most bang for my buck. These are made by a seller who's looking to give you the most bang for your buck while he profits by cutting it well. This is cut for me to, and this is cut for him, and they're both fair, and they're both an expensive process. It is a full stone that someone took and put physically through a wet saw and cut it and polished it to the dimensions and then backed it with a plate to support it, because they break when they're like that and they get used how we try to use them. They become fragile because we're using them in the center, so it's got to be supported. So it's a process of they're expensive to build a set. $700 because you're going for a full set. Then when you build the set, you have to decide, because you don't have to get every grit like we choose to, like grits of diamonds come in a set so that you can use them in a stepwise fashion in a guided sharpening system. So this is a cottage industry in these, making these stones and mounting them on the plates for everybody that's doing them. And there's only 4, in my experience, there are different brand makers now that are showing up making stones for the 1x6 format, which is the Hapstone, the Edge Pro, the TS Prof, and there's lots of them. That is that same format. Well, Gritomatic and Hapstone's a big player, and that is the 1x6. For Wicked Edge, I gave you the history, and it's that small because it's hard to do it, because you have to buy them and they're a little smaller, and everything you cut off the length is wasted. So it's specialized and therefore expensive. And Tom Blodgett at Agenda Industries is the only one that prevailed, stuck with it. And a couple years ago, when I decided to start my Facebook group, I went to him and I said, come on, man, you know, let's there's nothing for Wicked Edge. I said, all we have is your whetstones. I says that we're like left in a box, that when you buy Wicked Edge, we're left on our own. Let me tangent story back on the forum back in 2016. When we talked about Wicked Edge on the forum, we called it the mothership. You know, affectionately. But the truth is because it was the only place you could get anything Wicked Edge. So everything we had to order, and anything coming down the pike from Wicked Edge, we were interested to hear because it was kept separate. We never talked about it at Wicked Edge, that it's just another guided sharpening system, and we never talked in terms that I try to talk in terms of fixed position, guided angle sharpening, call it what it is, because what we talk about applies whether you're sharpening one side horizontally or both sides. I'm trying to be inclusive. I don't want to talk about politically correct. I'm trying to be inclusive because Wicked Edge is limited in these mediums, And there are 1x6 mediums that now we can use with uni handles when used in pairs, or the 1x4 side used in pairs. So Wicked Edge can accept all these different stones. So it's easier for us to join the 1x6 market of all those other brands that my perception is Wicked Edge has been kept segregated, whether it by choice on Wicked Edge's behalf by design or because the economics and everything is in pairs, I think is more the reason. And because everything is too, it seems more complicated. So they're kept separate. Well, I'm trying to show you how they cross together and tell you how you can get the different mediums for them. The two medium sources, back to where we are, for the 1x6, which happens to be Shapton, that format is Shapton, Gritomatic, and they have some whetstones, some ceramic stones, and he has some here. These are whetstones. He does have, I'm not going to scan through there, but I wanted you to see, it's agendaindustries.com, and let me see, sharpening stones, diamond plates. Here's what I want to show you. The round rods with the round rod cleats, those are for serrated knives. He's working on, right now, there's no picture, his diamond epoxy resin. He has them right now at Gende, 1x6 plates. But I convinced him to invest his time and effort in making diamond resin on Wicked Edge paddles. So this is what he's working on now. And we were discussing how to, whether it was a build your own deal or if he mounted them, how to mount them. So Genda is working on that, and he has strops, whatever, for Wicked Edge, the only place. And what he doesn't have, he is receptive to having it. Because I convinced him that he has a history with Wicked Edge, because he uses Wicked Edge, because he sharpens reed knives. When I met the guy, reading about him, his thing was reed knives, and they used Wicked Edge to sharpen reed knives, which he sells at his site. And Wicked Edge is still very much enjoyed by people playing double reed instruments. Is that what it's called? Anyway, so knife sharpening is just not for us in the kitchen and pocket knives. And for your Wicked Edge sources, there are a variety of different. I'm losing my train of thought. Let me see what else we had here. Lapping films, Jenny sharpening plates. He has 1x6 diamond plates and alternative. For those of you who have used Wicked Edge for years and the Wicked Edge diamonds and you want to try something new, here's your way to try it. Whether you get it from him or you get it from someplace else. It's just about availability and inclusiveness for me. For the whetstones on the Choseras, if you had to choose one, because the Shapton glass, whether they're, I don't know what to call them. Go back to my other video. Shapton glass because they don't have glass on them. They don't have diamonds, and I call them Shapton glass diamond stones. The first ones that I ever used that I still love. The second ones were the Choseras. that I still love. They're very much different, but in the very much the same, and they both give you a very good polished edge, and they work very well, and they're both equally easy to use. They're just different. These aren't available in the market. The Shapton Curamako Pro. These are the first stones I ever used as a whetstone. I bought them on handles like this from Genda. And I had success sharpening those hard stainless steels that I failed with using diamond stones. My first experience was the Curamako Pro whetstones that I bought from Genda. Then he offered the Shaptons, and I tried the Shaptons, and I couldn't go back. These work very well. They're like the workhorse. They're used as the gauge that they compare other whetstones to. And they're really a good whetstone, and they cut very well. I just like the Shaptons better. And the Shaptons are probably 3 times the price. I don't know, but probably 3 times the price. So I'm babbling, I'm talking, I'm trying to talk about whetstones, where you can get them, the differences, how it ties in to Wicked Edge, and how I came about with this guy. He kept doing what he was doing. I met him back in 2015-16 on the forum when he was using a Wicked Edge and sharpening and reed knives. And I was getting started with clay, and all these years I've maintained a relationship with both, and I use them both. And that's what I share here, is my knowledge and sharpening experience as I collect knives, trying to figure out which. Used to look for which was the best knife. Now I just try to learn about them. Anyway, that's Genda. He's got all kinds of stuff. I keep in touch with him. We're not partners in any sense other than I tell him what I want him to have. Thanks. Have a good night.